Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. As we enter into the month of Ramadan, you're entering into a month of the supernatural. And I say that because what do? We fast. And what do? We pray in the nights. And there's an extra motivation to do that, right? We fast because we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward it as He has told us in the Quran and the ahadith. And we pray the extra raka'at, the tarawih prayers at night time, because we know of the rewards which you would have seen in some of the other videos in this series from our mashayikh from Al-Maghrib. The one who stands the night of Ramadan, imanan wa ihtisaban, having good faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, expecting a good reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all of his sins will be forgiven. One of the problems I think that we have as a community, and it's one which is part of our society, I call it one of the problems of the age of empiricism, one of the problems of the age of ignorance which we're living in, is that the metaphysical, the spiritual, is a greater challenge. It's something which the Muslims are struggling to connect with. They're finding it difficult to be able to connect with that which cannot be seen, which is not obvious, because the society doesn't. An empirical society always wants to see things in front of it. It doesn't like the idea of angels recording our actions, or believing that we're in a blessed, even the concept of blessing, something which is not surreal for them, something which cannot be tested, scientifically proven, and so on. The reason I mention this is because you will find that Muslims themselves are exhibiting characteristics of the same type of culture. We find it difficult, for example, if you're a group of people and you're talking about your visit to Mecca, you would call it the Umrah or the Hajj, right? You wouldn't talk about the Hajar al-Aswad, you wouldn't talk about the black stone, you wouldn't really kind of talk about the Kaaba or the Yemeni corner. And the question is, why wouldn't you talk about it? Because you're going to try and explain to a person that this is a stone that came down from heaven. They'll look at you and say, it came down from heaven, really? They look at your statement that I robbed the Yemeni corner and with that I erase my sins. They say, really? They look at it like a stone. And in fact, you'll find that the Muslim then starts to shrink back from this, as I said, the metaphysical, the spiritual, that which we know because of our faith. And you're discussing this in a society, you're talking about this, and you're believing in it, and you're practicing those acts of worship in a society that does not value things based on faith, or in spirituality, or on iman, or in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mention this because this is the month of faith. This is the month which the Quran came down. This is a month which actually reconnects us to the spiritual. And I just want to remind myself and yourself that the reason that we do this, and what other people might call hocus pocus, or wasting our time, or spending long hours not eating or drinking with no perceived result, or spending nights praying very, very late in some of the countries during the summer, where actually sleep is completely thrown out the window, in return for what? Again, very little. I want to remind yourself and myself that our connection with these spiritual acts of worship is because our belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and is based upon the most rational, the most scientifically proven, and the most obvious facts. That is the need to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is our belief in His book. That is our belief in the sanctity and the sacredness of the ahadith of His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So as we enter into this month, and we need to prepare ourselves spiritually to take on all of the acts of worship that we know we need to do to increase our ajr, be confident and do not look around at your society, an age of ignorance, an age of empiricism. Rather look to the age of spirituality, which is what you need to recreate. Make this month for you, make it the month where you actually reconnect with that which other people don't want to believe in. Make it a month of iman, wa ihtisab. Make it a month of faith and good opinion in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah knows best. Until the next video, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.